Yes, it is me and Dan only episodes. Yes, the special event. No, Jamie's busy. He's got very much more important things to do, which is totally awesome. So good on him. And all the best with everything. And this is Let's Talk Games episode 74. Yes, miss you, Jamie. Miss you. We always do. Yes.
Yes, we do.
What we're going to do, as usual, right off the top of the show. Hey, how are you, Dan? How are you?
Yes. I'm good. How are you? How are you, friend? How are you going?
I'm fine. We didn't have much time for like preliminary chat, so we're just doing it now, obviously. But yeah, man, I've got a week off, which is great. So it feels great not having to work on a Monday. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm rolling into my Monday not really caring.
I'm taking off Monday as well, so it's
stick.
It's relaxing.
Excellent.
No, we've been doing a lot of gardening at the new house. So our front is almost done.
Nice.
So I'll send you guys photos. I've got to send you photos. I always get Monique to take the photos, and then I never get them off them to send them to anybody. And they're like, "What are you doing?"
Oh, that'd be awesome, man. I mean, oh god, that must be so great. Just be able to do up your own house. But yeah, can you see what you're doing there? Like next week, I had it taken off ages ago, like at the start of the year, because I was meant to go see family and shit, but the world happened. So, and then my team leader's like, "So do you still want the time or what? Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "I'm actually open just to do nothing, to be honest, you know." And or do you want to save your leave for next year? Like, no, I'm good. You know, I could just do with some time away from work for a week. That'd be great. So I'm just gonna play games, man. Just relax and play games. And speaking of which, nice segue. Right into
love it.
Right into what we've been playing. Oh, I know you do. So what we've been playing. I've actually played a few different things. I'll just get them out of the way. I'm not going to dwell on them too much. But Call of the Sea, I started. It's a very small game. I got a Game Pass. It's like I guess you could think of it as like a 1930s, 1940s adventure tale where you go to some mysterious island looking for your husband.
Cool.
He's gone missing, whatever. And art style's it's a very pretty game. It's a short game. Jamie told me about it. He's like, you should play that. It's only like a 4-hour stint. I'm like, all right, cool. So I've played like an hour of it. So I guess I'm a quarter of the way through. It's pretty cool. I'm enjoying it. It's just puzzle based discovery stuff. State of Decay 2. Sarah and I actually went through that together. Finally, last time I played it was at launch and it was rough as. Like I think I mentioned it before, but it's actually a quite competent game now and got through the story part of like our map that we're on. And
is this a follow on from a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, so we finally finished it. Yeah. So we've gone back to like we've played so many other games in between, but we finally went back to it and finished it. And it's short, man. Like if we didn't have any breaks in between, it just would have been such a short game. But the point is, you finish your settlement stuff or your map, whatever, and you can take your dudes into the next zone or whatever, next map. And I was just like, yeah, I'm done. Like they rolled credits, like you had a little cutscene with a dude that you carried through and rolled credits logo. I'm like, cool, I'm done. I know what this game is. Uninstalled. I totally understand why people love it and why people play it. I shat on the game for years, but now I'm like, oh, I get it. Yeah, cool. And then a little game called Deep Rock Galactic. Deep Rock Galactic. You're playing as like these mining dwarves in space, and you go down to little zones and you can mine into these asteroids, like first person type game, and you got your pickaxe and your guns and you're shooting bugs and like gathering resources and shit. It's a lot fun, a lot more fun than it sounds. The hub world or the hub area in the spaceships just as entertaining as a game. So so Game Pass as well, and just Elder Scrolls. We're playing Elder Scrolls Online today. And I'll be probably jumping right back on that after we're done here. So that's what I've been doing. And yes, Jamie, I got my list. I looked at my Xbox profile before we started and I wrote them down. So I haven't forgot anything. So, you know, thanks for that. So Dan, what have you been playing? Much? You ever had time to play much?
I have actually. I was because I'd been playing Madden towards the start of the week, and I was thinking to myself, all right, I'm just ready to play something else, and I'm like, I was looking at games, like maybe some cheap games that are out there or on the PlayStation Store, and I was just looking, and I looked at the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, like the upgrade and everything. I'm like, am I ready for that? I think I'm ready for that. So I put money down on it. It was good. It was like $45 or something. anyway, so I played it. I finished it yesterday. So it was the Iki Island like expansion part is about 5-6 hours, which was like a perfect time.
Decent.
I appreciated not necessarily the story of Iki Island, but the stuff that is related to Jin and his past personally. Because as I'm playing, I'm like, this is kind of a story that I thought they would have saved for like a second game. Like it feels like that kind of character progression from the first game. So I was really surprised by that, and I thought that was cool. I got these new headphones yesterday,
Finally.
which I was very excited about. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll test out this Tempest Engine, whatever 3D audio stuff. And man, it's actually really, it's pretty cool. That and the like the PS5 little upgrades, how everything just kind of works together. It's like if you have just one of them, it's really neat, and then when they're all working together, it's kind of a really cool experience. So, like a small example when you played Ghost of Tsushima initially on the PlayStation 4, if you're wearing a certain outfit, when you get close to little collectibles, it'll start like vibrating, and as you get closer, it vibrates more and more until you pick it up. On the PlayStation 5 controller, when it's vibrating, if it's a little bit out to the left, it will vibrate more on the left side of your controller, and then as you move the camera around, the vibration travels, so it's actually kind of indicating to you where to go. The audio is really good. Monique stole the headphones off me just before I got off before, and she put them on, and so I'm still playing, I'm still running, and then I called my horse. And so, as you know, with games, when you call the horse, normally they appear behind you so the game can. And so, I called the horse, and then she could hear the horse running behind her, like up towards her, like she could hear it coming from far away and getting closer. And she thought that was just mind blowing. She's like, "Oh my god,
this video games."
Yeah, yeah. So I had a really good time with it. It did take me a little bit to like get into the dance. The one really good thing, which I haven't heard people talk about. So in the initial Ghost of Tsushima game, when you play that game, there are different enemies, and you have your 4 different stances. And depending on the type of enemy you're facing, so one will have a sword and a shield, and you have to have one and use one type of stance to better deal with that enemy. Or you have a guy with a spear, and you change to that stance to deal with guys with spears. In this, what they've done to give you different enemies and more complicated enemies is now there will be a guy that has a sword and a shield who you're fighting, and then midway through the fight, he'll put his shield on his back and pull out another sword. So now you have to use the stance that is just for those guys, and then he might put away the swords and pull out his spear. And so during the fight, he's now actually changing the type of enemy that he is. And so you have to also deal with that while you're playing. I'm like, that is very clever, rather than just having your set guys.
Set dudes, yeah.
And then they introduce a thing called shamans, and the shamans, basically, it's almost like giving the guys force field. They explain it like they're just making them more bloodthirsty, so they're more aggressive, so they're harder to counteract. So you just have to go kill the shaman first before you can fight everybody like normal. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I always get nervous getting back into like Horizon, God of War, and Ghost of Tsushima because of the way their combat works is not your standard like hack and slash type. So I knew I was going to have like this like steep learning curve to get back to where I was. But once I got back to it, which took me about a couple of hours, God, it's so fun to play. Just switching between stances and throwing stuff. It's really, really cool. Really
like riding a bike, as I would say.
Yeah. Yes. So mainly just Ghost of Tsushima, and yeah, nothing else. I actually totally missed that 2K just came out, and I didn't even realize.
Oh damn!
Yeah, so probably in the next coming weeks, when basketball comes back, I'll probably just get it then. That's fine. Not in a rush.
Every week. Yeah, fair call. Well, you got lots of other things to play on the list, I'm sure. Backlogs. My backlog is every time I make a dent on it, there's just more stuff that gets added to it. Like,
Yeah.
before we go into the topics, I found this game on Game Pass. I'm busting to get to. It's called Skatebird. I watched the trailer
Yeah.
for it. I was like, "What's this shit?" And before I watched the trailer, I was like, "What is this?" And I put the trailer on. I'm like, "Yep, I'm so downloading that shit. It looks fucking hilarious." So I can't wait to play that and just get through some of these other smaller games. But
I remember the like stuff for that game at a bunch of like must have been like E3s or something like a couple of years ago. That maybe it came out on PC and now it's just coming to console. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But yeah, Skateboard looks hilarious.
Yes, it does. Oh man, cool. Well, some other hilarious news. Not really. I'm actually a bit disappointed about this, but the first topic I think we'll get out of the way because we might have a bit of meat on this one is God of War related. Like, I'm a God of War fan. As I've mentioned before, the reboot was hard for me to get into, but I can't wait to actually give it another go once I've freed up some space. But God of War, it's epic. It's a great series, and the Norse side of stuff, which I was really intrigued by, seeming like it's not going to be as long as everyone anticipated. Like, everybody thinks trilogies, right? It's just how we're anticipating things all the time. Like, it's always a trilogy of something, but I guess it depends on what they do with this. Like, you might know more about the background of this kind of topic here, but knowing I've seen some chatter online and I saw the announcements or the articles going out, like the Norse story of this God of War will end with Ragnarok, if I'm right on that, which I was a bit disappointed in. I was expecting some massive arc on it. Like, if it's called Ragnarok, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be huge. But if it's just one game, how huge is that going to be? So I am, a bit apprehensive about that. But like, if you know more about it, like what the announcement was and why, I don't know. Do you know more about the background stuff as to why they're moving on from it so soon, or what any of the rumors are? Dan?
Yeah. So at the, I forgot to mention it last week when we were doing our wrap up of the PlayStation event, but he did mention it there that there was like a sentence where they said like this is the end of the Norse story that they're making, and I can't believe we didn't talk about it last week. But then there was an interview a couple of days ago with the new game director and Corey Barlog, and basically the question was asked like this is the end, like why is that? And Corey basically went on to say that the first game took them like 5 years to make. By the time the second game comes out, it's going to be, and he says roughly that same amount of time. So we're looking 2022, 2023, but we're looking at the same amount of time. And if you went for a third game, it would probably be the same period of time again. And he's saying like that's 15 years of creating the same game, and he wants to be able to release. He wants to be able to finish off the story before his kid goes to college. That was his joke. And and so I get that kind of. I could have don't get me wrong. I would have gone with a trilogy of them that with what they're doing with it. That's fine. But there's a couple of things that made me think this actually might be all right. One, it fits in with my philosophy that I hate it when people keep asking studios to continue to make the same game, and I'm like, they've been making the same game for like 12 years. Like, let them do something else and then maybe come back to it, which I think this is what they might end up doing. I know when the first God of War came out, when they were thinking of rebooting it in 2018, there was a lot of talk about the Egyptian gods and stuff, and they fell into the Norse. So I have a strong indication that is where they will go in the future after this. But the other thing was, if you've played God of War, unlike the Greek games, in God of War 2018, the world is actually, in terms of life, is actually empty because a lot of shit has already happened. Like, a lot of the game is you in the boat and Mimir telling you stories of like, here's the story of when Thor did this thing or when Odin did this. And it's all the stories that if you've read books or listened or watched other media, like they're all stories that have already happened, which makes me think compared to like the Greek mythology ones where they're retelling stories you've heard of, but in God of War's little ecosphere.
Yeah.
So it actually makes me think that, yeah, considering that these stories have already been told, like this is kind of the way to end it. And Ragnarok is like the end of things. So
It's the end of all things.
I don't know where you go with the third one if this is meant to be the end of all things. But so it kind of fit in with my philosophy, and I think because a lot of the stories have been done, they can't really fit it into God of War story, so they can tell a whole new story and finish it off the way that they want to. But yeah, I'm not sure what your thoughts are on all that.
Well, look, if it tells a story that they want to tell, and it's not like they're withholding stuff for another game like some series do, like if they put everything they can into this one game and make it the best as possible, I'm totally down for it, to the point where if it doesn't need another one, then that's cool, man. Like, yeah, we're all accustomed to trilogies, which is cool because you get more of what you want. But yeah, you play some games where you feel like when you play the next one, that some of the stuff that's in it could have been put in the last one. Like there's some stories like that. Even some movies do that. You're like, well, really, did you need to split that into 2 movies or 3 movies? Like the Harry Potter, for argument's sake, the last movie on that one's split into 2 books, and like Twilight as well. It's like, really, all you're doing is trying to really like stretch it out as much as you can.
Yeah, stretching content.
Yeah, basically. And if they're not doing that in this one, and they're putting everything in it, then man, I'm down. Like I'm totally down for it. But yeah, cool.
I felt like that with Assassin's Creed Revelations.
Yes. Oh,
like,
yes.
I basically beelined through that game just to figure out how this thing's going to end, but not caring about anything that's happening in it, because I'm like, all the interesting stuff has already happened in the previous games.
Yeah.
And I just felt like they were just making it just to hurry up and finish it off so they could get going with the other stuff.
Oh, 100%. I was born out at Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood. Like I got burnt out on that one. I've still got Revelations in my shelf I have not yet gotten to, so I just watched the ending on YouTube or something. I was like, I can't do another one. So, if that avoids that whole situation with this one, I'm down. I'm totally keen for it. I want a PS5 just for that, man. I really do. And Spider-Man 2, of course. But we've got a couple of like maybe just kind of what WTF kind of moments here, kind of points that we'll just run through. Mainly just hardware related or updates that were inbuilt onto the system when they were launched and only now just coming active.
Before we move on, can I also just mention, after playing Ghost of Tsushima, knowing that they're going to do a sequel, I kind of hope that Ghost of Tsushima finishes after 2 as well. Just for the sheer fact that the first game is very much about the island of Tsushima, and the only way to get away from that is to start just going to other parts of Japan, and I feel like you will just start to lose the magic of what the first game was. So if you have a second game, have something big around Tsushima about it, maybe go somewhere else for a period of time, but if I can't see there being 4 or 5 Ghost of Tsushima games because it's only a small little island.
Well, some of these games don't have the luxury of Assassin's Creed type, where that essentially reboots itself every time, essentially. So you do get a new experience that doesn't feel like the same thing over and over. So, hit or miss. But yeah, I totally agree, man. If we get more of that in the future, where the games become more complete, then let's leave that for the sequel. Then I'm totally down for it. But yeah, I mean, the next couple of topics have been a bit of points of contention for a while this week, and it's not the first time this has happened either. But the Switch, we'll roll it in the one topic. So the Switch and the PS5 had some updates come through this week. We'll start with the Switch initially, where it's been a question since like launch, like 4 years or something, even before then, of like, why is the Bluetooth functionality on this thing so restrictive? And they finally released an update to the system to say you can finally use Bluetooth, right? However, there are some caveats. I saw a lot of people get quite annoyed in this because people have since bought like third-party hardware solutions for it, like USB type solutions into the console itself, just to solve this workaround problem. So here's the detail on what the Bluetooth options you have now is. So looking at the screenshot Nintendo put out, here's the stipulations. To use Bluetooth audio, which is just the audio so far, you got to pair a device, obviously, but you can only have up to 2 wireless controllers connected at a time. So what if you had a 4-player game or more than 2 Joy-Cons, for argument's sake? Like if you had a Bluetooth headset, this is what this is starting with. Like if you're using a Bluetooth audio source, like a headset, you can only have 2 wireless controllers connected while using Bluetooth audio.
Okay.
Bluetooth audio will be disconnected during local communication. So if you're using like a local Wi-Fi solution for a multiplayer or local co-op, Bluetooth audio will be disconnected for that, which is ridiculous. Like, what if both of you wanted to use headsets or something? I don't know. It's just really, really weird. Bluetooth microphones can't be used like at all while you have a Bluetooth audio headset on. Mics don't work, and you might experience audio latency latency on your Bluetooth device. So that's embedded into the Nintendo OS. So when you go to pay your device, it has these 4 points just to warn you with. And it's like, all right, cool. So you've had this functionality on your hardware since launch, and it's now only active. But A, why did it take this long? And B, why is it such a disappointing solution when you finally put it out? You know, like everybody's got Bluetooth on everything. Like, I don't know about you, but my phone can connect to multiple Bluetooth sources at once at the same time. Like even the Xbox wireless headset that came out recently, you can connect it locally to your Xbox console through its own Wi-Fi signal. But you can also have a second Bluetooth device connected at the same time and play the audio and as a mic source at the same time, right? So there's this gimped Bluetooth offering here on Nintendo hardware. And I was really relieved to see a lot of people giving them back some slack for it. Like flack, I should say, sending it back Nintendo's way, which I did see a lot of the apologists out there and like praising like, oh my God, finally we got Bluetooth on this console. But like you've had it on your console the whole time. It was just disabled. And I don't know why. Like my questions come up on this and going, why was it disabled for so long? Or have they only just figured out a way to stretch out their Bluetooth solution? Because a lot of the wireless controllers that you use on the Switch are Bluetooth. And I know Bluetooth isn't the end all be all, but the fact that it's so gimped is questionable. I couldn't believe it. And I touched on it earlier. Like a lot of people have moved on with USB solutions for dongles and shit for the console just to use their headset that they have on this console. It's ridiculous. And you're sitting there with this new Flash PS5 headset, you know, that's got this 3D audio, and that's Bluetooth, right? Or is it local Wi-Fi through like PS5 signal or something like Xbox does?
So it can be Bluetooth, but it comes with the dongle to have it. Like,
right.
If you use Bluetooth and not the dongle, you'll have a little bit of delay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just comes with the dongle.
Oh man, like I mean that's fine, but I mean shit. I've been frustrated for a while because I like to use headsets at home because I live in an apartment complex and I'd hate hearing like outside sounds or neighbors or whatever doing shit. So I'll often just put on a headset and just tune it all out. And I'm not getting any of these problems on my Xbox. So I haven't had this problem for years. I can't remember last time I had any of these problems on a console. And it's just, and I just keep saying like the Switch is a gimped, like half-baked device, even though it's had runaway success, which is probably just more paramount to their game selection more than anything, and just the whole convenience that you can take it with you and take it home. That whole thing everybody knows about. But yeah, that's cool and all. You've got all that going for you, but it's still ancient hardware being stretched so thin for today, like in 2021, just so they can keep it profitable, obviously, and like lower costs and all that kind of shit. I don't know. I'm just really frustrated about Nintendo and as a whole for quite some time now. I know we want to keep things a bit more positive these days on like some of these conversations, but it's like sometimes you just have to ask what the hell, you know? Yeah, I know you're not too invested in this because this is like Switch stuff and it's kind of your ancillary console solution for other games and whatnot. But for me, I do quite enjoy my Switch and the games that I've got on it. And I am annoyed that there's still a lot of functionality on the device that is just subpar. Like they don't have voice chat solutions yet. And like I have family that have Switches, and we've wanted to play Mario Party or Mario Kart or something, and we have to go through other solutions like Discord or Xbox Live or Skype or something just to speak to each other while we're playing these games. You can't just do it through the console that you're playing on in 2021, you know? Or you have to use their stupid Nintendo Online app for voice chat, and not every game that they have supports that. You know, it's just all these ridiculous solutions, and this is just another one. So, you know, that's kind of really given a blanket overview of what this is. Now, if you have any thoughts on that, you want to throw it out there, just before we move on to the PS5 one. You know, any thoughts on it?
Well, the only thought that I had was, so to me, thinking as a Nintendo exec, I guess the Bluetooth, like, only one controller, like, oh, sorry, two controllers, which is essentially your two, what are they called? Your handhelds.
Joy-Cons.
Joy-Cons, thank you.
Yeah.
So my only assumption is that they're thinking it as like, it's not a big deal because the Switch, like, the idea behind Nintendo is it's a family-friendly console, and you're probably not going to have a lot of families sitting around with headsets on together because they're all going to be playing together. They're all going to have, like, everyone's going to have a controller and playing together. So they're probably thinking, well, if you're going to have a headset, you're probably playing by yourself anyway, and you just want it. That's what I'm assuming there. In terms of why the Bluetooth wasn't activated a long time ago, I don't know. Like, to be fair, to be fair, I hadn't even heard of this as a huge complaint. I heard that it didn't have it, but I just totally forgot about it. Like, after launch, I was like, well, it's just this thing it doesn't have. I don't know why. Like, surely it can't do that much more harm to the battery life. That's the thing I always think about with the Switch console is, what does it do to the battery? Like, whatever thing they have to add. Like, you know, the reason why they won't put, like, Netflix or something on it is, like, what's going to happen when someone loads up Netflix and it just starts absolutely killing the battery. So everything, everything to me is like, what does it do to the battery? And that's the only thing I could think of, is that they didn't want to do it at the beginning of the console, because if everyone who started using Bluetooth, everyone's going to complain this Switch is just dying, like, really, really quickly. Like, more than it normally would. But now so many people have it, and they've sold so many, they can be like, well, it doesn't matter now. Like, we've sold, like, we've hit the peak amount of sales in terms of, like,
they're nearing 100 million.
Yeah, it'll eventually start to peter out, and that's when we'll hear about whatever the next version is. So the same amount of people aren't buying it constantly, and I reckon at this point they're like, well, it doesn't matter, because people will just get the OLED version. Or maybe is it in readiness for the OLED version? Is there something with the OLED that they're like,
I don't know, but this came out this week. It's the latest update earlier on this week. Like, the only other thing I can think of, it might be just interference from other devices. Like, if you've got too many Bluetooth devices connected at once, it might affect your Joy-Con response or something. I don't know, but either way, it's still like, really? Why? I mean, we've had devices for years, even before the Switch was out, that had full functioning Bluetooth capabilities on devices that have been, like, before this came out, were like 4 or 5 years old, that still could do everything that this is only just now doing. Oh man, I'm frustrated. Like, it's not gonna, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it, obviously, but it's like, really, fuck. It's everyone knew this was kind of gimped hardware at launch, and it's just even more evidence. It just keeps going, right?
Do the controllers run off Bluetooth?
Well, I always thought they were. I couldn't see any confirmation here and there.
Because I know the PlayStation and the Xbox controllers work off, like, its own internal Wi-Fi, so it's not. Well,
I know the Joy-Con. The Joy-Cons probably would be Bluetooth, because the wireless controllers for the Pro controller, and you can connect your Xbox controller to it via Bluetooth. So I assume it's all Bluetooth.
Okay, all right. I don't know. Switch do things weird. Nintendo.
Massive WTF on this one, but this is a kind of a positive one to move on to, which is going to be great for those that have it. But the PS5 SSD slot is now active due to a recent update. Like, yay! You know, you can finally go out and throw in a $300 or $400 SSD card in your PS5, and hopefully you've got a heatsink ready to, you know, disperse the heat coming off this bloody thing. Like, I wanted to add this in, not in because, I mean, it doesn't affect me because I don't have a PS5, but you as the guy, the PlayStation guy on the team, like, how do you feel about being able to go, well, I can expand my memory. Yay, finally. Oh my God. Like, have you been looking at options, or are you going to get one that comes with a heatsink, or are you going to find a third party heatsink to throw on some other one? Like, have you looked into all that kind of shit?
Absolutely not. This is actually probably more. This is actually probably more of a Jamie thing, but he just sold his PlayStation, so he's probably not even considering it yet.
Yeah.
But no, like I'm the guy that just deletes the games. Like I don't need that many. I was fine with the PlayStation 4 amount, which was like 4 or 5 games, and now I'm up to about 10, and I'm like, this is enough. I can't keep track of them all. It was interesting. I was at my brother's yesterday, dropping off some stuff, and he had his PlayStation going. He has just a regular hard drive plugged into it with his PS4 games and that there, and you know, like he wasn't even fully aware of the fact that with the PlayStation 4 games, you can play them off the hard drive, but if you move them onto the console, they'll actually play better. Like he had God of War on there, and we started it up for 5 minutes, and you know it's going through the loading screen at the start, and I'm like, this is taking a long time, and I'm like, if you're gonna play these games, just move it onto the console, because as soon as you do that, like those load times, because I think there's an update for God of War for the PS5, so I'm like, it's kind of, those load times will just disappear. But you know, he doesn't know. He's just like, I've got a hard drive. It's got the games on it, and I can play it from it. So I just play it from it. So I think a lot of people won't even pay attention. But
true. I mean, how do you miss what you don't know you had? But I mean, most people that are the hardcore gamers that want to pick this shit up at launch will be knowing about most of this stuff, you'd assume. But
yeah,
man, it's just, we spoke about it ages ago. Like, I know before even when this thing launched, it's like, why is that not active at launch? Like, why? I couldn't really see any reason besides them not really being able to confirm what drives available would work on it. But
well, I think drives are only just starting to match up, and I don't think they actually wanted to do this. I think they still would want more variations of that type of SSD out on the market, but they've reached a point where it's been out for, what month are we in? September. It's been out for just over 9 months, and they're like, okay, we're seeing the way people are playing that we need to give them something, and
right, that's messy as but you'd have to. Messy. I wouldn't put out an item, like a product like that with, hey, here's my sweet new machine that I want to sell to you, but only some of it works. Only some of it's active. That, to me, like, that'd be a hard sell. And that would put me off. I still think to this day, like the little card, that Xbox solution, I still think that's the most consumer friendly option, obviously, out there. And just for ease of use, like, I don't want to be tearing my shit apart. I know it's easy. I watched the video. I think it was Spawn Wave or something like that. He took his PS5 apart and put in a card in it and put a heatsink on there and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's great and all. Like, it looks easily doable, but it's just that I know how to do that. But the whole, the old adage of the kid's mum's not going to know how to do that. I hate using that, but it still kind of fits in the topic of what we're talking about in the conversation. But like, if I had if I was a kid and I was like, Mum, want to expand my memory on my PS5. I mean, I wouldn't even talk like that probably, but how do you go to your mum and go, hey Mum, I want to expand my memory on my PS5. Can you do this for me? They're like, what the fuck? Okay, how do I do this? Or you could just put in a card.
My thought is that Sony were banking on the fact that third parties would have caught up much sooner than what it is right now. And because normally when you get something like the Xbox, like Seagate specialized one, normally they're going to be so much more expensive than getting third-party stuff. Like, think of Apple and phones and stuff, right? Like, if you want an Apple earphones, they're ridiculously expensive, or you can get a third-party one which would work just as well and probably going to be better, and it's much cheaper.
Yeah, probably.
And I reckon Sony was banking on the fact that, like, okay, Microsoft have their own specially made one for them, but it's going to cost more than what all the third parties can do. But the third parties just haven't caught up. So Microsoft have just is the only option at the moment to even get these expandable storage things on a console, whether it's Xbox or PlayStation.
And there's heaps of them out there too. They're that expensive. Like I keep checking EB and like other sites that sell the little card. They're always in stock, and obviously no one's going to be throwing down $350 Australian or however much it is. It still is around that much. I checked earlier this week because I'm with Telstra, right, and I get reward points accrued every time I spend money on my account, like paying off my bills and shit. You get credits and stuff, like Telstra reward silver points, whatever they are.
Yeah.
And I've got enough points where it's brought it down to $250. But even then, it's like that's still a bit of a hard sell. So I'm probably gonna wait to just get enough points to buy one, because man, if it was just me on my own, I'm like you. Like I finish a game, uninstall, or if I'm just not feeling a game, uninstall, and I'll just download another one and wait for that to download and play it the next day or whatever. I've been balancing my 1 terabyte pretty well. But there is a point, and I know Jamie might mention some of this if he was here. Like when you get games like that are always online, or they're just the online experience games like Destiny or Assassin's Creed, where it's always a massive game, or Warframe, it's still relatively small, but it's still chunky as hell. When you start getting enough games like that you keep cycling through on your console, you're dwindling your hardware. You're dwindling your memory pretty quick, even though you've just got 5 or 6 games on there. Like Elder Scrolls Online, it's nearing 100 gig. Destiny 2, I think last time I checked, is like between 70 and 80 gig or something like that. And you do that a couple of chunks, far out, man. Doesn't last very long, particularly on the PS5, where it's 820 something out of the box, and then you take a chunk out of that already for the OS and stuff. Anyway,
yeah, it's like
I know this is all like
650. But my thing is like, how much are you willing to spend for convenience? And $200, like $300, $400 is not convenient for my bank account. And normally there's a 2K or a Madden always for me on the go, which can be upwards of 100 gig, and then I've got a story-based game or another AAA game there ready for me to play. So if I'm downloading a game, like when I was downloading Ghost of Tsushima again, then that's when I just continue on playing my 2K and that. It's downloaded, then I play it. Like it's never been an issue for me, because I don't think I would have downloaded Ghost again until the sequel was coming out. It just happened to be that this director's cut was out, and I was like, okay, I'll play that, and I'll just download it because now I'm feeling like it. My internet here is not crazy. I think I have the least amount of internet compared to you and Jamie. Jamie's ridiculous. I'm on a 50/20, and like it takes time, but I just do other things.
Yeah. Play something else, like download in the background, or download it overnight or something. Yeah, easy.
That's fine. Watch a movie, watch a TV show. We can't go anywhere. Like
I know. Yeah. I wanted to bring this up because I watched some of the teardowns, or the installations, I should say, of the SSDs that now that's active and proving it works and whatever. I'm like, this looks easy for me, and like this will look easy for you and Jamie, and people that I know. This will be easy for, but I know that there's going to be so many people out there going, well, I need to unscrew this and make sure I've got this particular card, and I need to put a heatsink on it, or I need to buy one that has a heatsink on it, or buy a third-party one and make sure I can apply that and actually fits in the volume of the space that I put the card in. Like, I don't know. I know this is an old topic, but it's just come up again because of now it's active and it's kind of worth discussing. But
it's good for people that now they have an option.
Exactly right, but fucking hell. Whew, PS5. I'm still going to buy one though. So, I mean, they're going to get my money and they're going to win anyway, right? Yeah. And Jamie sold his, so, He should have sent it to me. I would have fucking played that shit. I want my Spider-Man 2. Fuck. I'm still sitting there when I'm watching those trailers from that last week going, oh, man. That was all in game, man. That Spider-Man 2 trailer was all in game. I'm like, oh, it's pretty as hell. But yes.
That's all right. Give it a couple of years and you'll have a nice library.
Speaking of libraries that are coming out and being added to, NVIDIA. There's a leak coming up. That was a good segue, I thought. Yes. Adding to your potential library in the future. Now, I know, like, I totally missed this, and when you brought it up, I was like, "What the hell is this?" Like, Nvidia's like PC space. I don't really deal with this stuff, but I know you wanted to talk about it, so I'll hand it to you as far as the part of this that you want to speak on. So, what is this? What's this all about? Nvidia leaks potential future titles or something? What's that?
Well, so basically, and I'm not going to go too far into it because I kind of lost interest a little bit throughout it because it's a lot of speculation in it, in terms of there was this leak that came out which had a bunch of games where the theory is that NVIDIA has these games on file because they need to test the games to make sure that they work. And there was a massive list of games where they mentioned that games like God of War, the Uncharted games, which had a different name, it was Uncharted Thief's Legacy or something, which is not what the Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy PC combination that was announced last week. So it was a different name there. But games like Returnal, Demon's Souls are apparently coming to NVIDIA. And so the real question is that are these kind of the PlayStation games that are going to come to Steam and Windows and Steam? And I looked at the list and I said, I mean, yeah, they're good. I think they mentioned in the article that Horizon, the first one, made 250% profit in releasing it on PC. So I'm like, yeah, these games are obviously going to come. I guess the question will always just be when and where they will. I assume they'll time it around other releases they have. But but as I said, it's not hugely exciting. The only thing I saw as the publisher, so a lot of the other games will have, I think Mafia Definitive Edition was one of them, and the publisher was 2K. The weird one for PlayStation, it said like PlayStation Mobile was the publisher, and I'm like, that's weird. I don't know why it would be PlayStation Mobile unless that's that whole mobile strategy that they were talking about, I don't know, 9 months ago or a year or so ago. They were talking about bringing to mobile. So I don't know how that works. But
this must be that thoughts? Same leak. Sorry, when you were talking about titles that were on the list, this must be the same. I might have seen something on this where someone was saying there's a list out there that got leaked that was saying there's a Final Fantasy 9 remake, I think, on the list of something that was leaked out. I'm like, really? Final Fantasy 9 remake? I mean, how are they going to do that? Like that's one I don't really believe. It was either 8 or 9. I think it was 9. That's more popular than 8, but from what I hear in my circles anyway. But how is Square going to do that when they've just finished 7 remake and they're just starting on remake 7 part 2, whatever you want to call it, and the amount of time and years they've put into that? I mean, I don't think they have the team or resources to start jumping into another remake of another Final Fantasy, but this must be the same one that's coming out, because you just reminded me on. It's just not the PlayStation ones, right? There's a lot of other actual PC titles coming out.
One was the GTA 3 Vice City San Andreas was also in that list, like the remasters of them. There was a whole bunch of them. I'm seeing if I can get that list, but yeah, it was. As I said,
at the end of the day, it's like, really, is it legit? Like, is it from a legit source, or is it just someone put something out? Or
see, that's where it's probably more into Jamie's territory because he'll know who some of these people is. But for instance, there was an example of Titanfall 3 was one of them, but when they went in and actually looked at the name, it was named under like Apex_Legends, and then something else after it. So it was like some type of maybe Titanfall
is getting a Titanfall update coming out soon. That was rumored, so that's probably what that was. Jamie's probably screaming at the screen right now, or the audio going, "Oh, you fuckers! It's this and this and this. What the hell?" Yes. Yeah. Sorry, Jamie, if we totally bullshit this for you. Yes. Yeah. Cool.
But that's all right. We'll move on because as I said, I struggled to keep my interest.
Yeah, that's fine, man. I mean, it's more PlayStation titles going out to everybody. I mean, you're going to get more of your good shit.
Good
Speaking
stuff.
of PlayStation titles and something that hasn't been bushed, Deathloop. Holy crap, man! Like I have zero interest in this game, and we've seen so much of it. You know, and every time we watch one of these reveals or trailers or PlayStation showcases, and there's just hours of Deathloop playing throughout this presentation. You're like, really? Yawn, come on.
Like
you show it every week. Yeah, exactly right. But everyone's like reviewing it going, holy shit, this game is the tits, you know? Like I'm just looking at Metacritic at the moment, 88 on the Metascore, 5 mixed reviews, the 87 of them are positive. So that's really good, right? And I mean, I that's great. Like I don't care about the game. I'm never going to play it. I have zero interest in picking it up, even if it comes to Game Pass eventually. It's not my game. Like I've seen enough of it to go, yep, not my thing. But it's clearly everybody else's thing, which is great. But the discourse online that I found more intriguing than the game was you see some of the negative reviews got removed of people jumping on there and giving it a 0, going, I refuse to play this game while it's on a under an Xbox banner or a Microsoft banner and all this kind of shit. Like playing the tribalism card of like, you know, this is a Microsoft studio. I'm not playing this game. You're like, really, mate? You've got a game that's coming out getting 10 out of 10s or 100s out of 100s, you know, with a very high Metascore and like overall positive to 5 mixed reviews, and you're stopping at because it's a Microsoft property or essentially a Microsoft game. I'm not going to play it. Like fucking hell, I had to eye roll. I just wanted to add it in here because good on Arcane, whoever it is, put another like corker of a game out. They just seem to be doing that hand over fist these days. And good for like PlayStation having another exclusive that's doing really well. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, no one wants a bad game, right? I have zero interest, as I said, but I'm glad to see that this is found an audience. I was interested because every time we talk about it, none of us care about it, and other people I talk to have zero interest in Deathloop either. And I thought this was going to be just one of those yikes moments, you know, when it comes out and just flops hard, right? But I'm happy to see it's gone the total opposite way. I don't know if they're saying like what they showed on the reveals and the trailers and the gameplay demos doesn't actually represent what the game is at all, which, I mean, that's probably a bit of a faux pas in the marketing department if that's the case, you know. That's a yikes in itself. But man, I have to ask you, like, what's a game that you love? Uncharted, man. if that came to Xbox, would you stop playing Uncharted?
Nah. Yeah, I find this very that's funny with the tribalism thing. No, I've always said that like PlayStation as a whole, I actually don't care all that much about. I more care about studios, and it just so happens that a lot of the studios that they have, ones which they necessarily didn't create, you know, like getting Insomniac I was a big fan of their games leading up to when they eventually got purchased, and now they're just making more games that I like. I always wanted to play the Dishonored games. There was something about the setting and that never fully grabbed me, and I just couldn't get into them. So when they were making this game, I was like, oh, that's cool. At least they're not just you know, getting shut down like so many other bigger publishers at the time. Bethesda, like a lot of other publishers, if they make 2 games that review well but don't sell incredibly well, they'll just get rid of the studio. They'll be like, no, this is not making us enough money, so we'll shut it down. I like that they're like, all right, well, we're gonna give you Deathloop. It is very. I did find it a little bit funny where it was like finally Microsoft, you know, they've bought this publishing arm, but studios in Bethesda and Arcane and all these guys, and the first game that they finally get to release is a 10 out of 10, and then it's not on the console. And I'm like, that's annoying, but they'll get there in a year or so. But it's on PC, right? It's still on PC.
Yeah, but I mean, who plays PC really?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, besides Jamie, you know, like, yeah.
But I was actually really happy seeing the source. Like, I wasn't going to play it. There's still something about the aesthetic that just doesn't fully grab me. And I reckon it is a game where you have to watch like 30, 45 minutes of it to get it, which is probably what everyone's kind of saying with the reviews, because every time we've seen Deathloop, it's been a 2-minute snippet in like a PlayStation showcase or something, and I reckon you need to be able to see like an entire full run and then the second run to figure out, oh, this is how you're meant to work around it. But yeah, I've been hearing everyone's been really excited. I don't know if you like games, just find a way to play them. There are games that are going to be coming on Xbox where I will absolutely play them, and then it will just be up to me to find the best way to play that. Now, I could play it on the PC, but as we said, that's
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? So I will get an Xbox eventually. I think the main thing right now is that people they've been conditioned to have to play it like straight away and everything.
100%. The FOMO, you know?
Yeah. And
you're missing out.
If there are people out there like, I'm not going to play this game while it's got an Xbox like published thing on it, I'm like, well, then you don't care about the developers at all. You just care about yourself. So
yeah, brand loyalty and tribalism takes paramount to some of these people. Like, man, I'm an Xbox shill. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm unabashed Xbox fanboy. But man, I'll call shit out when I will and when I have to. But this kind of shit, oh man, like if PlayStation got just, I don't know, 343 and Coalition Studios, if they somehow acquired them and they were pumping out Halo and Gears games, I'd be like, you're goddamn straight, I'm buying a fucking PlayStation. You know, like, holy shit, man, I want my Gears and Halo shit. I'll go with those games. I just won't play them on PC because no one wants to do that. And Jamie's just like, you fucking chunt, what are you doing? Oh my god, I hate you so much. But yeah, look, I don't know, that topic alone, I just want to throw it in there because it's very interesting on how that all turned out. Not only because of some of these assholes out there that are trying to spoil it, but just how like the perception that the game came up to be highly successful. Like, I tell you what set me off with the game was the marketing and the trailers overall, with the constant like quipping in the trailers, and everything has to, same problem that I carry on about the Marvel movies and shit, where everything's a quip, everything has a joke, everybody's a smart ass. Like, there's no like tension, there's no like, everything's a joke. I get bored of that pretty much straight away. You know, and every trailer on that game was just that. And the music, and it's the way it was presented, and I'm just like, nah. If this is what it is all the time, I'm out. But with these reviews and stuff being so positive, I'm actually peaked on it. Just to see. I might find a streamer or something, or maybe Maximilian, I don't know, he might be playing it. I'll watch him play it or something like that. I mean, I can't get a PS5, no one can. So I'll wait. You know. Anyway, right. Yes. Speaking of a game that's already out, that's coming out again, it's like its own Deathloop. You could say, "Oh my god, yes!" Oh my god, I love it. Yeah. So, Grand Theft Auto 5 is coming out again, and they released a trailer to announce it. They finally confirmed that's coming out, right? In a trailer. And I'm actually surprised by this. Like, one of the highest selling games ever in existence. The feedback on this, you would have watched the trailers. I know you like your GTA, and I really enjoyed this game, and I'm kind of wanting to revisit it with all the next gen features and whatever. And I have to agree with some of the feedback as far as it's not that much different looking than what you can already get off Xbox One and PS4. You know, at least to me. And you can see the trailer online. I'm just looking at it here. Just refresh the page, and it's still showing 36,000 likes to 179,000 dislikes. So people aren't too happy about it. This is on the Rockstar Games YouTube page, and like the comments are pretty brutal. One say, you know, the amount of dislikes on the video are so satisfying. Rockstar, this is what they want, in quotes, gets 178,000 dislikes. It keeps going. I'm not going to read them all out. 8 years later and still no new single player content, which is like very true. I mean, they did promise some extra single player content, right? And they never came out with it. And this just goes on and on and on. Like, some of these are so hilarious. I only picked out a handful, but like, you're the GTA man. I'll just get my feelings on this out of the way. Like, yes, I am very still keen, I think, to pick this up because I would like to revisit that game. I played it on 360. I loved it. I think it was amazing they even got that game to run on that generation of hardware, the PS3 and 360. I totally skipped the Xbox One version just because it was still fresh in my mind, and I had a feeling even back then that they might just pump out a next gen version for it. Some of the updates here seem new enough for me that would probably warrant a purchase because I haven't been playing it since the 360 days, right? And it still looks like a very pretty game. Visually, it looks great. If it's got the frame rate problems, I probably won't bother. Like Jamie's right, like frame rates matter these days. They do now for me. Like if it's framey or if it's running at a low frame rate, I probably won't bother. Someone's probably going to correct me. Like it says in the trailer, it says it's running at 60 or some shit. But anyway, just the whole thought of the way this worked out, I wanted to throw in here just because it interests me, just like the Deathloop thing, where the highest selling game comes out with an update for a next gen version and it's just fucking hated. You know, like I know everybody's saying we're so sick of hearing about this game and it's always in the top 10 list and it just keeps selling and blah blah blah. But I mean, what are your thoughts on this? The GTA man, like, did you see this coming, or was this a bit of a surprise to you as well?
I thought they might have put a little bit more effort into it, but
yes,
it's also not surprising. The single player stuff, I would have liked to have some single player DLC stuff, but to be fair, I'm pretty sure a lot of the stuff that they put on GT Online you can actually just do by yourself. It's just that you have to be GT Online to do it. You just don't play as Michael, Franklin, or Trevor. It does worry, and more worries me about what they're doing going forward. So, like when GTA 6 comes, whenever that may be, what type of shape is that game going to take place? That's probably what's more worrying me. Is it just going to be like a 20-hour single-player game, and then it's just all dumped into online? Red Dead Redemption 2 is probably an interesting case as well because they're still pumping out online stuff for that game as well, and I think that's definitely the way they want to go. I think you'll actually be, as someone that didn't play it on the last gen of consoles, there's probably going to be enough for you there when you go and play it now. Because thinking about when they went from PS3 to PS4, you know, the fact that they were able to make that game, like you can choose to play it totally in first person or play it in third person on the fly. I'm like, that was huge. And the level of detail in the guns, they had to improve the level of detail because now you're seeing it from a first person perspective. And they would have like little serial numbers written on the guns and shit like that. So I think the disappointing part is that there's not something like that moving from PS4 to PS5 generation. That's what I think is the disappointing part. I probably will play it again, especially when there's no GTA 6 on the horizon, or I might wait for another like 6 months or so and see if this rumor about the remasters is true. But I do want to play GTA again. I love the GTA games. But I was thinking about like the other month, my cousin called me because he was having issues. He was getting, like, someone was hacked into his account and was stealing his identity, and he plays with his son. His son's like not very old, like almost double figures, but they play. Their thing is that they play GTA 5 together, and they're playing
Jesus.
And they're playing GTA 5 on a PlayStation 3. And so, like, the other month when they announced that, like, GTA 5 is no longer going to be running online in a year or whatever it was, I'm thinking of people like them that are still playing on, like, PlayStation 3s or Xbox 360 is still playing this game. And they'll see this trailer and be like, maybe it is time for me to get one of those new consoles and play this, and they're not going to have any clue. I think this whole episode has been about us just like bringing everyone down a little bit and saying there are other people in the world that aren't following this religiously day to day and are just playing the games, and they'll hear about it and they might go spend it. As I said, I hope they did. I hope they tried a little bit more. It's not the end of the world. No,
not.
I'm pretty sure you can still get an upgrade for free on PlayStation, can't you? Isn't that a thing?
Oh,
I don't know.
Man.
I haven't looked into it properly.
Man, the same sales I keep seeing for this current version of GTA 5, it never goes under like 50, maybe $45. Even now, like today, all these years later, like I could probably stomach this a bit easier. And you're right. I mean, we do live in a bit of an echo chamber, and there are a lot of people out there just won't give a fuck, and will just like, I just want that for that, easy done, and that's fine. You know,
well, they'll just buy it again, like they always have.
Yeah, I've been living in a bit in that world lately. I've been kind of turning my source code off to the Matrix as far as the freaking games industry and how much of a joke it is. But this would probably be a bit easier for me to stomach if they gave us the option to buy one side of the game or the other. Like, I don't care for GTA Online. I don't. I'm keen to go through as like the three guys again. You know? That story, I fucking loved it, man. It's such a good time, a lot of fun. And I want to experience that again with all these new bells and whistles. But if I'm expected to pay $100 again for that, and a major part of what this game is now, I have zero interest in. That's my main problem with this going forward. And I'm going to wait. I'm hoping they might just do something like that close to launch. I don't know, because a lot of these games do have these features now, like Master Chief Collection, for argument's sake, is just the first one that came to mind. And Gears 5, they have options that you can remove content. Like after you've installed it, you can just uninstall certain parts of the game and just play the bits you want. So that the options are there. But stuff like this, and I guess Call of Duty as well, to another, I guess, can add to this conversation as well. Like there are people that just want to play the campaign, don't give a shit about multiplayer, but you have to buy both as a whole. I don't like that. I understand why it is, but I don't like that. Obviously, it's hard to sell two SKUs of the same game. But man,
part of the Call of Duty, like they've done kind of the first step, which is when you download. Well, at least it did when I played the Modern Warfare, like the 2019 reboot or whatever it was. They've at least done the first stage, which is, do you want to download the single player first, or do you want to download multiplayer? And then I just downloaded the single player, and I was done by the single player and didn't have to download the multiplayer. But that's more of a size issue of how big those games are getting, like 200, 250 gigs of space. And I'm like, that's good for that. The next step beyond that, I think, is like, I just want to purchase the single player.
Yes.
And
fuck, I want that.
Well, that's what was interesting. Speaking of Ghosts, the fact that Legends, the online stuff, came a month or so later for free onto it, and then a few months ago, you now can just buy Legends on its own if you just want to play Legends with your mates and stuff. So I'm like, that's cool. But even then, it took a while for people to get to those type of places, or you could just buy the full game free. So I think that hopefully this next generation, and I think we should have a podcast about this soon, about what our hopes are for the next 4 or 5 years of games. But I hope a lot of pricing and how games are delivered to us adapt and change enough to make it more interesting, at least.
Yeah, that'd be a good topic. Make a note. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely will.
Done. Speaking of done, we're done. We are.
There's
no more. There's no more topics. We're done. And you only got 2/3 of the overall content in this one as well, but you're not getting charged for it, so you're winning already. So cool. Yeah, that was a good one. I'm happy we did that, and we're gonna get out of here. More games to play. I'm gonna go back to play Elder Scrolls with my woman, and
nice.
I guess you can keep gardening or whatever you want to do. And
I'll play a game about gardening. It's much more fun.
Gardening simulator. There you go. Done. Cool. Yep. Righto. We're out. See you next week. Might have Jamie back, hopefully. And toodaloos.
See ya.